Hi, this is Zach Elwood, and this is a Card Runners live poker training video. This video is part of a series about verbal poker tells. Verbal signs of uncertainty will usually be a sign of a strong hand, especially when heard from players making a bet. This is for two reasons. One, bluffers will usually want to be confident and neutral with how they speak. They don't want to imply any weakness with how they communicate. Two, players betting strong hands will sometimes be motivated to appear uncertain in order to increase the chances they get called. This video will concentrate on small signs of uncertainty like small uhs and ums. The more subtle the sign of uncertainty, the more reliable it will be as an indicator of relaxation. More direct statements of uncertainty, for example someone saying, "I'm not sure about this," are more capable of being tricky reverse psychology statements. Small subtle indicators will be more reliable because the player isn't as likely to be consciously thinking about them. Note that most of the following examples will come from players making significant bets. Behaviors associated with significant bets are the most likely to be meaningful. Behavior from players who are waiting to act or who are making small bets isn't as likely to be meaningful because those situations aren't as potentially stressful as when players are making significant bets.
Nacho checks.
Still not too scary a board for Joe's hand, and Ken gave up the lead.
12,000.
Joe bets 12K.
Anything Ken does here other than fold will look strong, so I think his best shot at looking weak is to just call.
That's what you did last time.
When?
12,000.
Last night, Hashem bet 12-5 on the river against the loose cannon. Ken made the call with queens, and Joe showed him two pair to take it.
It was 12,500 last time.
Talking when you have a big hand, that's classic loose cannon.
This is a good example of an amateur player with the nuts expressing uncertainty. Hronkowski says to Hatcham, "That's what you did last time. Last time you bet 12,000. He's referring to another hand where Hatcham had him beat and Hronkowski called his bet on the river. Hronkowski's expressing uncertainty and basically saying, "You might have me beat here." Whenever anyone betting or calling expresses uncertainty during the hand, you should be very cautious. Most players with vulnerable hands don't want to express uncertainty in any way. If Hronkowski had a hand like 10-10 or pocket aces, he wouldn't want to say something that would make it more likely that his opponent would make a move on him. This is a good example of a consciously made uncertain statement, but now we'll focus more on some more subtle, unconscious signs of uncertainty.
All right, now the river card. Liddell, way ahead. A 7. Liddell now earns the check mark with 2 pair.
Oh, all in, I guess.
All in. Safe will need about 5,000 to call.
You said he's all in?
He said he's all in, I guess.
I got something. You got something?
This is a hand featuring the professional fighter Chuck Liddell. He goes all in on the river with 2 pair, saying, "All in, I guess." The "I guess" part of his statement is a very obvious expression of uncertainty and would indicate that Liddell is actually pretty comfortable with his bet. Liddell is obviously not very experienced. Most even somewhat amateur players wouldn't say "I guess" because it's too obvious a weak behavior, and most players are aware of the basic weak means strong pattern.
Brett could use some luck here.
To Beth Shack. There's 1 ace. She's got luck. She got pocket aces.
I raise.
Doesn't bode well for Brett.
Beth's trying to figure out how much she wants to raise. We know she likes to go all in with ace-queen.
I'm all in.
She goes Heidi-ho.
Here, in a WSOP circuit event, Beth Shack gets pocket aces and shows a lot of nonverbal and verbal uncertainty before raising. She makes shrugging gestures. She says, "I raise, I'm all in." If she had a vulnerable hand at all, she'd be very unlikely to express any uncertainty in this way. This is a rather obvious display of uncertainty, which is kind of surprising because Shack apparently plays a lot of poker.
That 8 did pair Wilson, but Damon gets the check mark. Matt checks again, as does Seidel and Mex.
Damon sitting on it again. He really did study that video where Johnny Chan flopped a straight and trapped Eric Seidel.
Wilson, who paired his 8, bet 6,400 chips.
Matt's got one fish on the hook.
A Hollywood star with some pretty bad acting here.
Actually reminds me of Ben in Jersey Girl.
He made it look tough, but he does make the call.
Yeah, he made it look like an uncertain call. He is an actor.
Seidel folded. Mex gets out of the way. Wilson and Damon heads up. Damon with a check mark.
Here, Matt Damon did some pretty obvious acting of uncertainty with his full house. On the turn, when Wilson bets, Damon shakes his head, blows out air, all as if upset. When he calls, he even does Mike Caro's famous poker clack, saying, "I call." Damon is only calling here, not betting, and as I've said, behavior when betting will be more reliable in general. But when a player makes any noticeable signs of uncertainty and then calls you, your alarm bell should go off.
And gets called.
Bet 10,000.
You pair any good?
What's the price?
Maybe I'll take a bet, whatever. Bet 10,000 and what?
The doldrum man wins this pot.
Oh. 21,000. 21,000?
Here, Gabe Kaplan bets the nuts on the river, saying, 21,000. Kaplan is an experienced player, and this is a nice example of a small indicator of verbal uncertainty. If Kaplan were bluffing, he'd be very unlikely to make this sound. Bluffers have an instinct to communicate in clear, confident ways.
Jacker, we'll see the flop. Jack 3 ace, top pair for Jacker, a set of jacks for Yanel.
Danger, danger, danger.
And Yanel sets a trap by checking.
Yanel was afraid his opponent would fold everything that was not an ace, so he lets Jaka do the betting, who does just that, 45,000. And the old sigh.
I raise.
Followed by a raise. Yanel may as well hold up a sign saying, "I have a set, everyone."
Sighs are a related behavior that express uncertainty. I can make a whole other video just on sighs and loose exhalations, but I thought I'd include one here so you can see how all these behaviors are just different ways of subtly or not so subtly expressing uncertainty. A lot of this behavior is unconscious. The person doing it isn't actually trying to deceive someone. It's just an instinctual reaction to try to act the opposite of how they're feeling. I've been concentrating on verbal poker tells lately because I've been writing a book called Verbal Poker Tells, which should be available for purchase by June 2014. If you'd like to see some reviews, go to my site, www.readingpokertells.com. This has been Zachary Elwood for cardrunners.com.